Hey y'all, it's Abby from Abbi Kirsten Collections. I recently had a blog name change. I used to be known as Mama's Gone Crafty. I'm now Abbi Kirsten Collections, so I just wanted to let y'all know that. Normally I do not talk in my videos. I usually write. One, I communicate much better in writing than I do speaking usually, and I'm also a stay-at-home mommy to 2 toddlers, so recording is a little challenging when you have kids in the background. So some of you have asked why I don't speak in my videos, and that is the primary reason why. But today, I get to speak to y'all. Yay! My husband took the kids out for a while, so I'm going to get to record this. Alright, so for our Cora style flower in this video, I'm going to be teaching you a new technique called the framed petal technique. To create this framed petal edge, you'll be gluing 2 petals together for each layer. We will only be using 3 layers for an extra large flower, unlike my other designs that use 5 layers of single petals. This flower will take more paper and glue than my other designs, so just know that this concept can be applied to any of my designs that are stated to work with the frame petal technique. So no matter what shape petal you may have purchased or downloaded from me, you can use this technique if it says it works with the frame petal technique. And for those of you who want to downsize for size variation, you can just subtract the extra large petal and just use the large and medium petal if you want to downsize to make a smaller flower. So you can just easily do that if you want to downsize. Okay, so we're going to get started now. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure all your petals are cut out. Just get them all cut out, and we're going to cut slits at the bottom of all of our petals. It's going to be at least 2 to 3 inches. This one probably closer to 3 inches. That's what I do for these, so the petals aren't too tight when you try to bring them together. You're going to add glue in the inner edge, and you're going to overlap slightly. Don't overlap too much, or your petals might be too tight and you won't be able to get in your final layers of petals. Do the same thing with your white petal or whatever color you're using. I'm going to use, you can use a marker or a dowel, or I'm using a fondant tool here to just curl the edges back. And the effect we're kind of going for here is a layered sort of framed edge of each petal. So by layering them like this and adding glue to a slightly smaller one and then gluing it on top of the other one, you're creating sort of this framed edge. It creates this really cool layered look, and just is an overall different approach to giant flowers. And you should have done the same thing with all of your petals. I'm making an extra large flower here, so I'm using 3 layers for this extra large flower. Generally I use 5 for my other designs, but just know that this method approach is different than my others. So to start building the flower, you're just going to add some glue to the inner edge of one of your petals and overlap another petal. It's about a 45-degree angle that you're going to overlap. You're going to do this with all of your first layer extra large petals. So I think I end up here with 7 petals in my first layer, and that's totally fine if that's what you end up with. If you end up with 6 or you end up with 8, then that's fine too. It will vary a little bit for everybody. Everybody's going to have a slightly different style. Make sure when you're gluing these flower petals together that you're adding a good amount of glue. These are definitely heavier petals because we've layered 2 together like this to create this framed edge, and they're going to be heavier, and you just want to make sure you have a good amount of glue. These flowers are, they definitely take more paper than my other flowers, and will probably take a little more glue as well. At this point, you're going to close the flower. So go ahead and add glue again, just like we've been doing. And then pull the flower together and close it. And it can help to sort of flip it over. You can get a better grip to press the petals together to close the flower. And our next step here will be to cover up the hole with a square or a circle. Alright, so now I'm just going to cut a big square to cover this hole up. If you have a circle cutter that cuts wide enough, or you have a cutting machine, and you want to use that, that's fine. I have a cutting machine, but I just cut a square out for this one. Make sure you add enough glue to each side. And at this point you can flip it over and kind of press down just to kind of get the petals to flatten out a little bit at the base and get good contact with your square or circle. Alright, so you should have something like this, and the next step is going to be to add in your next layer of petals. So we just made the first layer with an extra large petal, and now we're going to add a second layer of petals in. It's our large petal. And just add some glue to the bottom backside of one and glue them in. Make sure you're gluing them in between the bottom set of petals so that they're not directly in line with one another. This creates a better blooming effect. And you can use 6 petals in this layer, or you can use up to 8. I think I end up using 6, but whatever it works out to be for you, 6, 7, or 8 is totally fine. Okay, so you should have something like this at this point. And we're just going to go ahead and add our next layer of petals in, which is your medium petal. Just keep adding glue like we've been doing and pressing them in between the previous layer of petals so that they're not directly in line with each other. And I think I end up with 6 petals in this layer. 7 or 8 is fine too, if that's what you prefer. So you should have something like this at this point, and since this video is rather long, I've created a part 2 for the Swirl Pom Pom Center. Just click the link in the description to go to the second part to make the center of this flower.